You know I wouldn't stay away too long. This is my workout. No, it's my takeout. No, but it's my workout. No, it's Emil Amok. Hi, everyone. Welcome. You found us, the secret podcast, Emil Amok's Takeout, my takes on all things considerable. We've been, can you call it a hiatus? A hiatus if you've been, I've been a little under the weather. You can hear a little raspiness in my voice. And I thought, well, all right, I'm just going to just not do anything. But, it happens like when I see the time, 2 p.m. Pacific, and I try to be live just for me. I mean, you might be here too. If you're here, hi. Hi, nice seeing you. I mean that sincerely. On Emil Amok's Takeout, you can find us on YouTube at Emil Amok1, on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Emil Amok. We're on Instagram, but I have to do one more little thing, one more little hoop I have to go through, so I'm not on Instagram all the time live. Facebook, fb.com/emilguillermo.media, and under my name on Facebook because, we like Facebook. Not on TikTok, because, if you read my ALDEF piece, Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund, I'm kind of down on TikTok. I mean, I know some of my friends still love TikTok, still post on TikTok, but you can do the same thing on Instagram, and you don't compromise national security or your privacy by going on those apps versus going on TikTok. I mean, look, this is kind of a leverage play, right? Because they're trying to get ByteDance, which owns TikTok, to divest, and they don't want to or China doesn't want them to, because China wants to put a spy balloon in everyone's cell phone, in everyone's pocket and purse. I mean, that is like the secret weapon. This is the 21st century. I mean, it's not going to be a Cold War or a hot war. It's going to be a digital war. And if you've got digital assets out there, starting off with the cell phones they use, that is an advantage that I don't think we should just give in, because a lot of us are still in 19th, 20th century kind of thinking about these things. This is why, I don't know, here's the thing. Young people are mostly people who want to demand, I want my TikTok, but I think this is where the older folks aren't just being nostalgic for the way things used to be. It is a national security issue, and it's bipartisan. So anyway, that's why I'm not on TikTok. Anyway, a lot has happened since I last talked to you. I was in LA, and once I actually was in the parking lot of the Wild Card Gym where, Freddie Roach trained Manny Pacquiao. A lot of the good fighters out there in LA are right there on Vine. And I was at a club. I performed at a club called the Three Clubs. It was a great experience. Met some good comics who were performing that night. And Tony Blackstone comes to mind. My friend Savannah Pagnazzi. I mean, a lot of good young comics coming up. And I got to play there. And it was fun. And I don't know if I'll play there again. I mean, maybe at some point. But it was good. It was just good to be in LA. The other thing that's good to be in LA, because I have a Northern California chauvinist idea about everywhere else but Northern California. And this comes at a time when everyone is down on San Francisco and Northern California in general. And I'm not really in San Francisco, so I'm kind of in exile, but I'm still Northern Californian. I still root for the Giants over the Dodgers, although the Giants don't have my loyalty very much, although they've made some moves, so maybe I'll like them more than the Dodgers. But the fact is, every time I go to LA, I like it a little better. that there are things down there. It's just, it's a 5-hour drive or 2 hours by plane or whatever, 1 hour by plane, but it takes you a while to do all the ground transfers. But I was down there and I was talking to some animal rights people, and check this out on the PETA podcast. You might see a little clip that I put on social media of the PETA podcast, episode 320, about the no-kill shelter situation down there. It's bad. It's a bad situation down there because, people think that once they got no-kill, that's it. They can wash their hands of any sheltering problems, any overpopulation problems. What they don't realize is that if you have a no-kill policy, just like anything else, you actually are on the road to becoming an animal hoarder because you suddenly become overcrowded. And if your adoptions aren't keeping up with this overcrowding to reduce the overcrowding, then you just get more overcrowded and there's no room at the inn for new animals that need sheltering. Now, you've just gotten rid of the most effective tool, euthanasia, by stating you're no kill, and it assuages any guilt. It makes you feel good, but it is the road to animal cruelty because, like I said, if you don't do anything about the overpopulation problem, the shelters become full, they become uninhabitable. There's feces and defecation and urination. It's terrible, terribly inhumane, unsanitary. But this is what happens to the shelters. If you were to take in an animal, knowing that euthanasia is not an option, they're going to have to take them in. Your animal that you're giving up for adoption, but there's no adoptions. Here's what happens. The animals are abandoned. That can't be a better option. That's got to be more inhumane. So listen to the PETA podcast. I talked to Senior VP Lisa Lange, who's based in LA, and she tells me all about what's going on in LA, about no-kill shelters and why they're a bad idea for dogs and for cats and for animals and for the people of LA. And PETA has already put the blame squarely on the shoulders of Mayor Karen Bass. So check that out. Check that out. PETA podcast, wherever you podcast or get your podcast, episode 320. It dropped yesterday. I talked to Lisa, and I don't know why anyone thinks that just because you're no-kill, that's it. You've done it. You're through. No kill means your responsibility is just beginning. No kill means, okay, now we got to do something because we've just taken away the tool that we've always used to deal with pet overpopulation. Now we can't do that. And what has LA done? Nothing. So the problem's gotten worse. So check that out. The PETA podcast. PETA's also in the news. Now, this was a shocker to me because, they're always trying to make some kind of Frankenstein situation, animals and animal parts and sticking them into humans. And it's disgusting, right? It's Frankensteinian, right? Taking body parts from animals and trying to put them into humans. Like I saw this was in the news about a pig kidney, and they made it was big news, and they made it like, oh, this is historic, this pig kidney. But it turns out it may not be. Well, every time they try to do this, they try to make it sound like, oh, this is a breakthrough. This will make a difference. Surgeons transplant pig kidney into a patient, a medical milestone. Well, okay, just because you can do it doesn't make it I guess it makes it a milestone. Hey, we did it. Never done it before. Does it mean anything in terms of organ transplants? It says organs from genetically engineered pigs one day may make dialysis obsolete, which is really pie in the sky. And it's not vegan pie. So I don't think it's much of a pie. But the headline, this is the article from Ronnie Karen Rabin, surgeon in New York Times. Surgeons in Boston have transplanted a kidney from a genetically engineered pig into an ailing 62-year-old man. The first procedure of its kind. Well, historical, right? And guess what? The 62-year-old man probably wouldn't have needed it if he'd had a better diet. Just saying. If successful, the breakthrough offers hope to hundreds of thousands of Americans whose kidneys have failed. So far, the signs are promising. Well, that's the opinion of the reporter and the people the reporter talked to. Kidneys remove waste products and excess fluid from the blood. The new kidney began producing urine shortly after the surgery last weekend, and the patient's condition continues to improve, according to physicians at Mass General, known as Mass General. He is already walking the halls of the hospital and may be discharged soon. The patient is a black man. Once again, diet, all important. I mean, if he's a black man, has a standard, not just a standard American diet, but a standard African American diet, which includes usually a lot of large, a lot of fatty foods, a lot of meat. The procedure may have special significance for black patients who suffer high rates of end-stage kidney disease. I'd like to think that that's hopeful, yes, but no more hopeful than trying to do something right now while you're well, preventatively, in terms of doing something with your diet. Now, everyone is being hopeful, and there's a lot of hope in the article because, of course, she talks to the doctors who are involved, but then she talks to PETA, specifically my wife, Kathy Guillermo, who gets a quote in the article, but it's juxtaposed next to doctors who are saying they'll continue to monitor Mr. Slayman. That's the person who was involved in this, for signs of organ rejection. That's always the thing that you watch out for. He looks like his own self. It's remarkable, said a certain Dr. Williams. But then here's the turn in the article. The surgery was not without critics. Xenotransplantation raises the prospect of still greater exploitation of animals and may introduce new pathogens into human populations, said Kathy Guillermo, Senior Vice President of People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, also my wife. Here's her quote. She talks like this regularly, too. Using pigs as a source of spare parts is dangerous to the human patients, deadly for the animals, and may bring about the next pandemic. Oh, that ought to stop you dead in your tracks. This thing can bring on the next yes, it can bring on the next pandemic. They don't talk about this. Oh, look, xenotransplantation. We're putting a pig's genetically modified kidney into a man. We've never done that before. Hey, how about just curing a lot of people with the common cold? How about curing a lot of people with, simple gastroenteritis or something like that? I mean, the low-level breakthroughs, those are good things, right? But so you see a headline trumpeted like, oh, hey, we've transplanted a genetically modified pig kidney into a man who shouldn't have had this in the first place had the man had a decent vegan diet. So back to my wife's quote. It's impossible to eliminate or even identify all the viruses that pigs carry. Researchers need to focus on cleaning up the organ donation system and leave the animals alone. And this is actually a much better thing in terms of helping people right now who need organs, who need kidney transplants, who are suffering from dialysis. I mean, yeah, you can go pie in the sky. Oh, maybe one day genetically modified kidneys from genetically modified pigs will help us. But in the meantime, let's do something about the system we have now, making it fairer, making it more organized, making it better. I mean, so it's human kidneys to humans, humans to humans, matching up. That's what we need. But these stories come up. I thought when I saw this story today, I thought, oh, this has got to be. I mean, is this an old story that's been recycled? I mean, there are pig hearts and pig this and pig that, and no, this is a pig kidney. Is it a big deal? I mean, if you're the doctor, if you're a parent or a relative of the doctor's involved, yeah, maybe. Maybe. I mean, your son, relative, whatever, has done something that no one else has done. Is it going to make a difference? Not clear right now. And the man who's now walking around looks like he's going to survive it. No organ rejection yet. I would say that he would have better results if he just started eating a vegan diet. Meantime, as my wife said in the New York Times, using pigs as a source of spare parts is dangerous to the human patients, deadly for the animals, and may bring us the next pandemic because it's impossible to eliminate or even identify all the viruses that pigs carry. So, all right, but that's in the news. That's in the news. All right, so we talked about dogs and we talked about the PETA podcast. We talked about this development on in the news. Lots of other developments in the news, namely this thing, my iPhone. Not necessarily my iPhone, also your iPhone, but I woke up today and they're talking about the Justice Department suing Apple, and Apple shares took a hit. I'm kind of down on the stock market. I mean, I just give up. I don't want to play that game. So do you play any game, Emil? No. Well, it's just I just lost my taste for money after one big loss, and then knowing all the bad moves I've made, like back in '84, the big Apple ad at the Super Bowl, and I had Apple stock at one point, but I always sell too soon, and but I don't want to get on that track. I don't know. That's just me. Other people like to do other things, and they're capitalistic and greedy appropriately. Me, I just realized I don't have a taste for that. But I mention it because I do want a decent phone, and I'm an early adopter when it comes to phones. I went Palm Pilot, right? I avoided the iPhone for a long time. Had a Palm Pilot. I went the Palm route, went the the BlackBerry route. God. Now, speaking of blueberries, have you noticed that it's hard to find blueberries made in the USA? They're usually from Mexico or Peru. I mean, that's what I'm finding here on the West Coast. I think they've shipped all the USA made ones off to those vegetable stands in New York. I think that's what's happened. Anyway, so I love a good phone. Initially, I went with the Palm Pilot and all the versions of that, then the BlackBerry, then I went to Android. I avoided the iPhone 3, the 4. Oh, they got me with the 4S, I think, and the iPhone 5. And ever since then, I've been on that iPhone track. 5 to now, they're up to 15. 5, I'm at 13. I'm at 13. I'm not switching yet. I'm not switching until it's a number I like. But Apple, they're at 15 now. I was stuck on 8 for a while. I liked my 8S. I got one 8S. Anyway, there's a reason why I'm on that track and why my track is predictable. It's because Apple, the iPhone specifically, has a monopoly, alleges the U.S. Department of Justice. I mean, the percentage of iPhones that are out there, of all iPhones, pretty staggering. If you look at the, I'm trying to find the number here, because it was staggering to see the Apple monopoly laid out by Merrick Garland. So I'm trying to find that number here. The thing is, once they have you, they make it so you can't let go. They make it so you cannot get off the train. And why is that? How is that? It's that way because of the way that Apple violates antitrust laws. And you figure that this is how capitalists, this is how corporatists do their thing. They want to dominate, they want to have everything for themselves, and they want to leave little opening for competition. They want to assure the highest prices, little competition, suffocate everyone, totally dominate. That's called monopoly. It's called unfairness. It's called bring on the Justice Department to sue Apple. But now Apple has been seen as the good guys because there's a reason why we turned to Apple in the first place. We turned to Apple because Android really sucked. Android was so open that you couldn't rely on things. Like when you change from a simple operating system on Android, like I think they got me a blueberry shortcake or something like that, and they switched to something else, peppermint patty or something. And when they switched, if you didn't switch the right way, it's so open, it rendered your phone useless. All right, so I didn't feel like learning my phone to be an expert. But then, there's so many apps out there on Android that you get the good app and you like that app, and then it's not serviced again. You might not see it. Then you see another app, and then suddenly you got apps and apps and apps on top of apps. And there's something about the Apple organization, because they closed the system, that I think I found appealing. Because whenever they upgraded the system, I just upgraded the iOS. I didn't have to worry about, am I getting blueberry shortcake or blueberry pancake? Am I getting the right one? I mean, believe me, I had so much stuff on Android phones because I did like the Android phones. I was an early adopter of that. And then suddenly I realized, oh my God, everyone else is on Apple. This is going to be, and believe me, I was on Apple computers. I had the early Macs. And then when the compatibility issue happened there between Apple and PC, I chose PC. I haven't regretted that. So I've got one foot in one universe, Apple in terms of mobile devices and PCs, I'm in that realm. And so I'm kind of the ideal consumer that says, hey, just give me a product that works, right? And I'd be willing to pay what I need to pay to get something that works well. Now, there are a lot of Apple consumers who say, we will pay the price for whatever Apple has. We'll pay whatever price because it works. It's a good product. I mean, that's the thinking, right? It's such a great product. We will do whatever. But now with this suit, Apple's going to have to defend themselves. It's not going to be easy on the part of the Justice Department to try to get Apple on antitrust laws. But Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, was up there talking about just the way they did things, the way Apple did things with Messenger. I started using Messenger. I like Messenger. Apparently, it's one of the ways that Apple gets you, and that they're going at this from a security standpoint, saying that Apple, because they want you as a customer for life, they will compromise your security, and that's not fair to consumers. So Merrick Garland was saying, Apple is willing to make the iPhone less secure and less private in order to maintain its monopoly power. The Supreme Court defines monopoly power as, quote, the power to control prices or exclude competition as set out in our complaint. And so we're going to see a real knockdown, drag out fight. And look, this is the thing about tech giants. Tech giants don't become gigantic because they're nice guys. Tech giants become multiple billionaires or multi-billionaires because they don't play by the rules, or they know how far to go and extend the rules before they realize they are a functioning monopoly, which is against really the tenets of democracy, right? I mean, but we're a capitalist democracy, so the money guys will run as far as they go until someone says, stop, you're screwing over the consumer. So this, the Justice Department will vigorously enforce antitrust law. Enforcing the law protects consumers from higher prices and fewer choices. And that really is what's at question here. Has Apple gouged us on the iPhone? And there was a stat here that I found pretty astonishing that Merrick Garland used in his press conference today. He said, it just showed what percentage of the iPhone market, that Apple had. It's astonishing. It's like the only way. Okay, here. Apple's share of the U.S. smartphone market exceeds 70%. Oh, well, that's not a monopoly. A monopoly is like 100. Oh, yeah, like maybe in Russia or maybe in like, Saddam Hussein's or Iraq. 70% in the democracy is a hell of a monopoly. Its share of the entire U.S. smartphone market exceeds 65%. Apple charges as much as nearly $1,600 for an iPhone. I feel bad about paying $1,600 for a new phone every time they say, oh, let's go up a number. 8 to 9, 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12. I stopped at 13 and said, I'm not going up to 14. I'm not going up to, phone's pretty good. You're gouging us, Apple. And then Apple then go ahead, it goes into other areas that it has. iPads, Messenger, iWatch. I didn't get into iWatch. This is a Fitbit. So tech giants are cool and they do things that seem like, hey, come work for us. We have foosball. And that was a big pitch in 2000. We got all day foosball. Hey, remember Twitter when they were cool? We have massages and food. We got food made to order. We'll pamper you. As if the $180,000 starting salaries weren't big enough. That when you're paying a starting salary of $180,000 a year to someone just out of college, $150,000, because they screw the females. The women don't make as much as men. That's just a fact. But you see, when they can afford to do that because they're making billions of dollars in all these other areas, right? The iPhone, $1,600. Little inflation there in terms of profit to Apple. So Apple got a little, they were warned today. We'll see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen. Could it be a breakup? Could it be that Messenger will have to break up from iPhone and iPhone will have to break up from iPad and iWatch? And suddenly the family gets dispersed, sort of like AT&T. Those of us who are of a certain age, we have seen this with other companies. That's probably what's going to happen. I frankly like the performance of my iPhone and was glad when I switched from Samsung or whatever I had. I'm glad when I switched from from those phones to an Apple because I like the consistency. I was tempted by Google phone. Tempted by Google phone, but not enough. One of my members of my family did go with Google phone, the Pixel. Later on, they were saying, hey, get me back in the iPhone fold so that it's so hard to be compatible. That's how they get you stuck on iPhone. Anyway, let's see what happens with this, because these are the issues of our modern world in terms of American capitalism. How much is AI going to affect us? There was a report out of the White House saying that AI would impact 10% of the job market out there. I mean, everything is tech oriented. Tech is the future, 21st century. These are 21st century problems. TikTok, 21st century problem, right? In terms of having a spy balloon in everyone's purse or everyone's pocket. And now Apple, this is just what we have to worry about. And I think what's happening is that people don't care if they get what they need. Oh, my phone's working fine. I don't want to switch. Yeah, but you're paying more and you're being gouged, and Apple isn't giving you free shares or anything like that. That would be good if Apple gave you free shares. Yeah, buy our Apple phone. We'll give you 5 shares of Apple. I would take that. We've been gouging all these years. That could be a solution. We'll give you, make it a round lot, 10. That's not a tenth. A round lot's 100. We'll give you 10 shares of Apple. It's like $170 times 10, right? That's like 17. That's the price of an iPhone. 10 shares. Just to make it up. Forget this monopoly talk. We'll give you 10 shares of Apple. I think that could be good. Maybe. I don't know. So the Apple monopoly, got to mention that. Other big story that came out, mentioned the pig kidney. Shohei Ohtani. Did you get up early to watch the San Diego Padres play the Dodgers in Korea? God, I don't know. I love Shohei Ohtani, but the big news is that the Dodgers fired Shohei Ohtani's translator because apparently they can't get this story right. Either there was a theft involved between the interpreter taking money from Shohei Ohtani and placing bets. Now, I know Shohei Ohtani is a big guy. He's a smart guy. He's no dummy. And they probably made up a cover story to protect Shohei, who is really the future of baseball, the future of world baseball. Notice I said world baseball because opening day is over there in Seoul, Korea. And frankly, I don't know. I'm on the West Coast, so it's only 3:00 when I'm watching, or when I try to watch. I guess you could watch midnight baseball on the East Coast, but I just think this is part of the plan of world domination of American culture into world culture, baseball. So Shohei's an important star. And I've been pro Shohei, talking about what Stephen A. Smith said about Shohei Ohtani a couple of years ago, saying, well, your baseball's got this guy who can't even speak English. Stephen A. Smith is singing a different tune now. But this is a big deal because I think they're trying to protect Shohei. We don't have the truth yet. We need some investigative reporting in the Japanese language to find out about the interpreter and how bad the interpreter was or is, and if Shohei is innocent. One commentator said that, hey, no big deal if Shohei wasn't betting on baseball. Because if he was, then all you Pete Rose fans can bring up Pete Rose and say, hey, Pete Rose got rejected from the Hall of Fame or has been put on ice Actually, he hasn't even been put on ice. He's been taken out of the refrigerator. He's just been forgotten. And he's one of the greatest baseball players ever, but he bet on baseball. So if you're going to make a big deal about betting on baseball with Pete Rose, let's hope Shohei Ohtani didn't bet on baseball. Because if he did, it would not be a good thing. Would baseball be that hypocritical? No, I think they would put together a PR thing like they did and say, hey, the interpreter did it. Maybe he did. I don't know. So that's a big story. All right, one more big story, and then I'll talk about my New York Fringe Festival appearance. Starting in April 5th, I'm going to under St. Mark's Theater, 94 St. Mark's Place. The New York City Fringe, Broadway World did a little takeout on my show, Broadway World. We are off Broadway. And with news stories coming, Emil Amok lost NPR host, wily Filipino vegan trans dad. So I'll talk about that to close out. But I do want to talk about Angela Chao, because this news came out today, and it's sad. Sad because I did not mention Angela Chao's fate. It was reported last week, and I saw it in passing. Angela Chao is the young sister of Elaine Chao, who I have met and have, I don't know if you said I worked with her. We were involved in a venture in Silicon Valley at one point, almost a quarter century ago. But I do recall seeing her a couple of times when I was covering the Republican National Convention. I saw her. I mean, so we're friendly, and I'll say nice things about her. Her family's big donors to the Harvard Business School. Big Harvard family. Big shipping magnate, right? The Chao family fortune comes from shipping. Angela Chao was the CEO, and she died about a week or so ago from a tragic accident. And today it made news again because they got back the coroner's report, or the toxicology report that indicated that, yeah, she was having fun with her friends. She was drunk, which is, it's not a sin. It's just the situation. It's a sad situation. And the report was very detailed, talking about how she had 8 minutes. She got in her car, walking around. She left the party in this ranch in Texas where the Angela Chao and her husband was on a business deal. She had friends from Harvard Business School visiting her at the ranch. She was going to move the car, but she's got an electric vehicle. I think it's a Tesla. And it's not clear how to maneuver. I mean, the reverse, apparently, people have said, is not clear. So she was, I don't know what she was thinking in terms of going in reverse or going forward, but she went in reverse faster than she thought. And she went over a barrier into a pond. And she was submerged for 8 minutes. She called her friends. She knew that was it. She didn't know how to close the windows. She had friends. In that 8 minutes of time, the toxicology report and other reports that came out today said they had friends. She had friends come to the pond with a kayak, try to fish her out. They had 8 minutes. She was already saying goodbye. I can't imagine the kind of conversation that they were having. But, you're in this submerged car. You have 8 minutes, and every second counts. And they didn't have enough time. First responders finally got to the scene, and they pulled out Angela Chao's body after 21 minutes expired. You know, I didn't really look into the story that much when it first came out. But today, the reporting today really just hit me because, well, number one, it coincides with how Mitch McConnell, the Republican Senate leader, decided that he's stepping down. And he said so much in his address to the Senate, saying how, because of the death in his wife, Elaine Chao's family, Elaine's younger sister, Angela, McConnell has had to rethink what to prioritize in these final years of his life, the last chapter. I mean, I think all of us, when we reach this last chapter, have to do that. I think that's why I'm doing all this comedy stuff, because I can harangue and talk about different news stories and the urgency of X, Y, or Z. But from my very earliest days, it was always about comedy. In fact, I never really said this, but that was the reason why I wanted to go to Harvard. It wasn't just Norman Mailer. It was because of the Lampoon. I said, I don't even know who Robert Benchley is, but I know he was a member of the Lampoon. And I know that there were these, National Lampoon guys. I wanted to be Lampoon funny. That was the dream. And so my third act is determined by those original inclinations. So I'm thinking about Angela Chao. I'm thinking about Mitch McConnell, Elaine Chao. I feel like I never met Angela Chao. I should have known her, met her. I know that she was related to Elaine, sister, but the family, the Chao, the family is a big family in terms of what they've done for Asian Americans here. I mean, all right, they're Republicans, but it shows that we can find common ground. In fact, that often is the case with Asian Americans, that you'll find people that who are Republican and they're Asian and you get along. But we're in an age now where politics is just like so divisive and dirty that, it's best left unsaid. If you're left or right, Republican, Democrat. But so often, especially with Asian Americans, I'm talking about Indian Americans, Vietnamese Americans, Filipino Americans, especially Chinese Americans. So, Vietnamese, especially Vietnamese. There's you don't mention politics, but you still find room for respect, room to create and find common ground. So my heart goes out to the Chao family, Elaine, who I've met a couple times, as I said, and even to Mitch McConnell. And I'm sorry that I came late to this story. I just didn't realize. I thought there was some kind of foul play. People thought there was foul play at first, but then no, it was an accident. Well, now they know today. The news came out. It was an accident. But there have been a number of stories out, like this one ran in the Wall Street Journal how to get out of a submerged vehicle. I mean, this is important because if you don't know this, you can be in trouble. So here's a question. How much time do I have? Drivers have about 1 minute to get out of the car before it fills with water. It said that she had 8 minutes that she was talking, Angela Chao, once her car was in the pond. But according to this article, in those 60 seconds, it is necessary to have the clarity of mind to act decisively, says a senior scholar at the University of Manitoba who studies vehicle submersion safety. Imagine that. Gordon Geisbrecht. Imagine that's your field. Oh, I'm all about vehicle submersion. 60 seconds is a long time, Geisbrecht said. You can do a lot in 60 seconds. Still, it is important for drivers to know what to do in advance because decisions have to be made quickly. No one is reading an owner's manual while submerged, said Michael Brooks, executive director of the Center for Auto Safety, a DC-based advocacy group. So here's what you need to do. You got to stay calm, unbuckle your seatbelt, and lower your window down. Exiting through the open window is preferred above anything else. If there are children in the car, get them out first. It is important to act swiftly before the water level rises too high and the window can no longer be operated because the pressure on it becomes too great. Until the water gets halfway to the window, you can open it. One misunderstanding of cars and water is that a vehicle will short out and lose its electricity instantaneously. Geisbrecht, the expert, said some vehicles he has tested had their electronics remain on well after landing in water, enough time to give the occupant time to end within that 60-second window. So there's still time. But the problem with, I believe it was a Tesla she was in, it's not clear how to open the windows. So the next question is, if I can't open the window, the situation gets more complicated. In this case, a window breaking tool could be useful as long as the windows are made of tempered glass. Generally, the type of glass is indicated on a window label or can be found by contacting the manufacturer. So, having a window breaking tool, you can tap with a specific kind of tool that'll shatter the window. But once again, you got to know if it's tempered glass or not. If it's not tempered glass, you may be stuck rolling down the window as your option, or opening the door. It says it's risky to open the door. Escaping through the door is possible once the car's interior fills up with water and the pressure is equalized inside and out. Technically, that's true, but by that time you'll drown. So opening the door, really the best option is to roll your windows down, and when you go by a body of water, keep your windows down, because then you have to worry about braking. Now, as far as EV or gas-powered cars, the occupant response should be the same for both. A vehicle in water will normally sink first based on where the engine is located, as it is the heftier part of the vehicle. Electronic vehicles are also designed to protect against the risk of a shock once they hit the water. That is because the high voltage battery is isolated from the frame. Okay. So the final graph here in this Wall Street Journal article about what to do in terms of getting out of a submerged vehicle. What are regulators doing? Not much. In 2016, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration denied a petition from an individual to require every vehicle be equipped with an emergency window breaker. Boy, now that would be helpful, right? If you had a tool. I've got a tool here, and the end of my pen is like says I can break glass. Oh, no. Anyway, you got to be ready out there in the world. Some people were, in some of the comments in the article that I've read, critical of Teslas and how sometimes style, sometimes, the whole idea of the look, right, has more to do than functionality with how things are designed. Design, that's a term. People are into design as opposed to functionality. Anyway, my heart goes out to the family of Angela Chao. Those toxicology reports came out today, showed that she had been drinking, but she probably, I think she was in trouble because of how she had the car in reverse. She went back. It surprised her. She went off into the pond. Like I said, I saw news reports today that talked about how she had 8 minutes of conversation on the phone. It's just sad. It's another one of those things that you got to be prepared for. So, all right, we talked about a lot today. Talked about Shohei Ohtani. God, Shohei, I hope he didn't gamble on baseball. Talked about the Apple monopoly. I hate the fact that tech companies are seen as, they're seen as the guys with the answers. They don't have all the answers, and they're not all good guys. They are not all good guys. Sometimes they are monopolists. They are capitalists. I hope the Justice Department has a good case, and I hope they bring Apple to justice if they've broken anti-monopoly laws. I think when you have 70% of the market, you've broken some. Their phones are good, but not that good. They're going to say, "Oh, our phones are so great. That's why the market loves us." To the point of monopoly, oh, you must have little helpers to keep people in track, so you can't move out, so you can't get out of the Apple ecosystem. Anyway, we'll see. I hope that Merrick Garland has a good case. I really do. We talked about Angela Chao. We talked about the pig kidney. Don't get your hopes up about a pig kidney if you're under dialysis. Look, the best thing to do with a pig kidney, if you're suffering from some kind of kidney problem, I don't know if you can necessarily reverse disease, but you can make things better through diet. I know a vegan diet works. I'll tell you that. Your doctor won't, because your doctor isn't, he's not geared to telling you that a vegan diet is going to help you. In the few nutrition classes that I've taken, where I'm certified in whole food, plant-based foods, I know that much. I know more than some doctors because they've never studied this stuff. Some younger ones have. But if you're wondering why people of a certain age have been able to go through life and not been told about vegan diets to try to prevent kidney disease and dialysis and all that, because this is the way the medical communities, this is how it works. You get sick, then you come to them. You don't try to stay well. All right, anyway, check out the PETA podcast also. Episode 320. Talk about no-kill shelters. That's a good one. I talked to Lisa Lange about the LA no-kill shelters. Everyone thinks that no-kill shelters are, so great, right? Population problem solved. But not really. Not really. Not if you don't do anything about the overcrowding problem that will develop at the shelters. Not if you don't do anything about spaying and neutering aggressively the animals in your area. And you've just said no to euthanasia, and you may have to bring it back because it's the only way to deal with these problems humanely. Because no kill, here's the irony, no kill ends up being inhumane and cruel. If animals have to be abandoned because your shelters are too crowded because of no-kill policies are inhumane and cruel. All right, on a happier note, hey, I talk about the Fringe Festival, April 5th, 8th, 13th, 18th, and 20th, or 19th. Is that 19th? 19th. So that's April 5th at 9:50 p.m., Monday, April 8th at 8:10 p.m., Saturday, April 13th at 5:20 p.m. Oh, that's a good one. Friday, April 19th at 8:10 p.m., and Sunday, April 21st at 5:20 p.m. So just 5 shows under St. Mark's Theater, 94 St. Mark's Place in the East Village. I love that theater. I feel like a Filipino Spalding Gray, doing my show. Emil, Amok, Lost NPR host, I explain that. Wiley Filipino, I explain that. Vegan Trans Dad, I explain that. Check it out. You can see there, frigid.nyc, put down /event/6897.:625. It's on the screen. Check it out. Frigid.nyc, the New York Fringe Festival. I mean, it's part, the Fringe. It starts out, it's in Scotland. Now, that's the granddaddy. And it's spread throughout all English-speaking countries, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and people go on a circuit. And you meet the darndest performers on the Fringe circuit. It's like a underground showbiz. It really, and it's fun. I've been going to Fringe festivals since 2017. And then that should be 7 years. But remember, there are those 2 years of COVID, which, so 2023 was my first time. Last year, first time back since COVID. And now I've been to New York, San Francisco, Fresno, going to New York again, going to Orlando in May. But catch me in New York. I love New York. And nice, small, intimate space under St. Mark's. And part of the profits, I hope there are some, will benefit the 50th anniversary of the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund. Saluting ALDEF. The special ALDEF night will be April 13th, Saturday at 5:20 p.m. But for the whole run, I'll donate a portion of the profits because ALDEF has been very, very good to me. And they've been very, very good to Asian Americans. I'll talk about the 3rd anniversary of the Atlanta spa killings tomorrow. It's not that I forgot. It's just that it happened on the weekend and I wasn't on and I was sick and I feel a little better now. I've been thinking about it. It really is an important time that we should at least remember. It was around this time. We're all home trying to figure out what to do during the pandemic. And we get this violent massacre. Two places in Georgia. I'll talk about it tomorrow. All right. That's it. Hey, we did an hour just talking about stuff. Emil Guillermo here. We're here Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific Live. This is what we do. I was gone. Actually, I was in LA. I did that show, D's Nuts. Maybe I'll do it again. But it was fun. Met some good people. Tony Blackstone, like I said, a funny comic named Griffin from Glendale. I forgot her last name. Griffin from Glendale. And some good folks. And Garpit, my friend Garpit, introducing Garpit. That's his handle on Instagram. And because all these guys are on Instagram, I'm gonna have to get on Instagram now. So, all right, I'm gonna work on that. All right, Emil Guillermo here. We like to end with a little meditation, a little loving kindness, because you throw it out there, it comes back. Oh, since I was gone, we had a. Oh, we'll talk about this tomorrow. We'll talk about Marianne Williamson and talk about the Democrats and the Republicans. Talk about the politics tomorrow, and maybe we'll get our old friend Dan Gonzalez back. We've been sort of just missing each other as I went to the Fresno Fringe. But I'm telling you, I just when you see stories about death and the Angela Chao story made me think. I've got a family member, an in-law related to my wife who is struggling. So it just makes you think about stuff. So we like to end with a little meditation. Loving kindness, metta, M-E-T-T-A. Sending it out first to others. I mean, there's a whole formula that you follow, right? In terms of, you think of someone you love, you think of someone you are indifferent to, you think of someone who you hate, and you just keep pumping that love out. And then you give it to all, you give it to animals. And it's a soothing meditation that brings you back to a place where you need to be, the starting point, right? So, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Oh, you can make up your own chant, prayer. You can embellish it. I have a friend who did that. She wrote it for me, and I said, "Oh yeah, I'll read." I did read it the other day. But that's basically what you're sending out there. I especially like the live with ease. Sometimes we're too hard on ourselves. Got to live with the ease. Underestimated. Ease, more grease for the ease. Hey, the Warriors won last night. That's good. That makes us happy a little bit. Also a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. I don't think they won last night. Hey, it's good to be with you again. Back in tomorrow. If you missed any or all of this, hey, rewind. Till next time. Mahal Kita.